I'm James Rule. Welcome to the Lonely Leader podcast, where we help existing and aspiring leaders find clarity, build resilience, drive performance, and enhance fulfilment. In today's episode of the podcast, I want to tell you a little bit about my story, give you an insight into my coaching philosophies, and the purpose behind the Lonely Leader. The podcast is closing in on 100 episodes now, and The Lonely Leader has been in existence for just over 6 years. And on that journey, it's been an absolute pleasure to build some wonderful relationships with clients and people within the Lonely Leader community. But I'm conscious of the fact that some of you have never met me before. This might be your first interaction, and I pride myself on authenticity, and I think this is a great platform for me to be able to give you a brief introduction to who I am, what I stand for, and how I try and support people in their growth and development. So if I jump into my story, I suppose the first most pivotal chapter to touch on is being a professional sportsman. I was very, very blessed with the opportunity to represent my country at under 21 level and to go on and enjoy a chapter as a professional rugby union player, both with the Newcastle Falcons and also playing in France. Now, I'm always keen to stress, I am not mentioning that chapter to brag. I am acutely aware that I am far from the greatest player ever to play the sport, but it's the principles and the insights that that chapter gave me that are so relevant to who I am and what I do as a coach today. I think first and foremost, as an individual, it taught me the power of having clarity, of having goals, of developing a roadmap to achieve those goals, and sharpening and refining that resilience and ability to deal with adversity. It was over a 10-year aspiration to play for England, and when you step into that professional sporting arena, it is a ruthless place. Obviously, you are playing on the field of play. There are opinions, both in terms of your coaches, your peers, and the wider audiences that you are receiving almost instantaneously on your performance. So it's a ruthless environment that really does help sharpen your resilience. I took a lot out of it individually, but I now recognize, with the benefit of hindsight, I took so much more than just those performance on-field lessons. I was being exposed to high performance. I was being exposed to how individuals look after themselves, how they deal with their mental well-being, how they deal with adversity, what it takes in terms of habits and disciplines to be a high-performing individual and to build a high-performance environment and team. When I stepped into the Newcastle Falcons, the owner at the time was John Hall, and he basically opened his checkbook and signed a who's who of world rugby. You wouldn't be able to do it now with the salary cap restrictions, but as a young man entering that arena, it was an unbelievable learning experience. Some of the individuals that played at that time, Johnny Wilkinson, Doddy Weir, Vaingatu and Gamala, sadly they've both passed away, the latter two recently, but legends of the game. So in terms of an insight into those habits and traits that build high-performance environments, it was truly invaluable. And I draw heavily on that and translate a lot of those lessons into business. I did in my own business career, and I continue to share them through my coaching with the Lonely Leader. Now, as I stepped out of professional sport, I moved into the sporting administration world. I worked within consultancies. I worked under some fabulous mentors, and then stepped into commercial roles, and ultimately I'm proud of the fact that I was able to work my way into being a chief executive of two separate professional sporting clubs. The first of which I stepped into that role in my late 20s. So I was very young to be in that position. And once again, I share these experiences far from being somebody who wants to brag or look for that proverbial pat on the back, because in all of these experiences, I'm sure you're exactly the same. There were wonderful highs and also some supremely challenging lows. There are things that I look back on and think, yep, I got that absolutely right. And there are things both in my sporting chapter and my leadership chapters where I think, no, I got that wrong. So I am very, very quick to stress that this is not about me bragging or making arrogant statements. It's about giving you a snapshot into my journey and what I believe is a relatively unique set of experiences that allows me to be particularly competent at what I now do in a coaching environment. Because I'm a big believer that very few of us walk an untrodden path. Whatever it is we're trying to learn in the world, somebody is likely to have walked that path ahead of us. And therefore, if we can tap into their experiences and their wisdom, then we can really accelerate our learning. So I think those lived life experiences for me, both on the sporting field and indeed leading a business outside of the sporting field, give me such a vast array of insights and experiences that I can be so much more authentic and engaging when it comes to delivering training or mentoring or coaching opportunities. I've always liked the phrase success leaves clues. And I think it is so true when we look at high performing individuals. And those chapters I've just touched on briefly, both being a professional player and also being a CEO of different organizations, gave me exposure to some phenomenally successful individuals and leaders, truly world class. And they certainly left clues. And it's those clues that I tried to download, embrace myself, and that I now enjoy sharing with each and everybody that I work with in The Lonely Leader. And I'm always keen to stress that my coaching and my approach is not a sporting program. It's taking lessons from sport and bringing it across to industry. You do not need to be a sports fan or have any affiliation with sport to work with me as a coach or as a mentor. And I think one of those key lessons that comes out of those chapters is the need for resilience and how you develop resilience and how you move through challenge and adversity. And sport is a pretty unique sector. And I often use this analogy. Imagine the team of staff that you are responsible for, whether you are an entrepreneur, you run your own business, or you are a leader within a public or private sector organization. Occasionally, staff will go on sick. That's life. And it's disruptive, isn't it? But in the world of sport, particularly contact sport, you are dealing with a near continual process of disruption. You can build the best team you think for the job, and then in the very first fixture of the very first game of the season, people may sustain serious injuries to their shoulders, their knees, their ankles, whatever it may be, that renders them long-term sick. They'll need surgery. They're no longer able to play. And that creates a huge amount of pressure for everybody in the organization, other players, coaching staff, back office staff, etc., because the supporter expectation is we need to win. But imagine that scenario. I had times in my career over many, many years that I was in those roles where more than 50% of your playing roster wasn't available for selection. Imagine 50% of your staff on long-term sick. The work still needs to get done. You have to find other people. You either push people into an arena where they're not quite ready, or you're having to find other people, spend more money to bring people into cover for the people that are on long-term sick that are on full pay. So that disruption was immense. You can't underestimate that. And it really sharpened the need for resilience. I think the other thing that is not unique, but is very pertinent to sport is the emotion. It can bring out the absolute best in society and in people, but it can also bring out some of the very worst elements of society in terms of abuse, in terms of racism, homophobia, death threats, etc. It can bring all of that, and that can be hugely debilitating for the players that are on the field and indeed the staff that you are tasked with leading that operate off the field. So that need for resilience was continual, and I really learned how to hone the ability to not only enhance my own resilience, but to ensure that I was enhancing the resilience of my people and protecting their health, their physical and mental health and well-being. And those lessons translate out of sport into practically every industry sector that now exists. We all need resilience. I'd love to say that adversity doesn't come, but it comes in waves. Sometimes more regularly, sometimes there's more of a gap. But whether we're looking at our professional role or our personal life, resilience is something that gets tested regularly. And without it, we just cannot truly optimize our performance professionally or personally, and indeed get to the level of fulfillment that we deserve in our lives. At this juncture, I always think of the high performance definition that I've heard that resonates most with me. It came from Phil Neville, the ex-Man United footballer and manager, and he said that high performance is doing the best you can in the moment you are in with the resources you have available. I love that. The best you can in the moment you are in with the resources you have available. And I really relate to that because at any given point, you're going to be challenged. The moment you are in can be extremely difficult, and you won't always have the resources that you want, the headcount, the staff, the budgets, but you've got to do your best. And so I use that as a bit of a rallying call with everything that I do with people. We're trying to enhance the level of your best so that whatever moment you find yourself in, you feel like you have the resources, both in terms of your own skill set, your own leadership toolkit, to step through those challenges and lead with the best possible impact those around you, but also lead yourself to optimize your own performance. And sport, as I've said, is fairly unique. That pressure cooker environment, the goldfish bowl, everything that you do is analyzed, it's on public display. And I amalgamate those two and call it the pressure bowl, the pressure cooker and the goldfish bowl brought together. I look back on my sporting career with such fond memories, but I also am acutely aware of some of the challenges. There were times when I've been on the receiving end of death threats. There's been times when my family's been threatened. There's been times when my address has been publicly shared and threats were made against my very home. And those are hugely difficult moments to endure, but it aligns back into that need for resilience. So, as you're probably sensing, that is a core theme of everything we cover, and it comes from very authentic lived life experience. That is something that I try and permeate all of my coaching, training, and mentoring with. It's not theoretical rhetoric. It's drawn from those good, bad, and truly awful moments in life where you are tested, because that's where the real learning is. If we live a life without being tested, I think it was a Seneca quote, then we never really know what we are capable of. But when we can look back on those chapters, good, bad, and truly challenging, we find there are learnings. And it's those learnings that can be delivered with real authenticity to absolutely enhance the growth and development of the people that I am now privileged to have a chance to work with. So that gives you a little bit of an overview of my story, honed very much on the field from a professional sporting context, but predominantly, and the best part of 15 years in those C-suite roles, predominantly as a chief executive, leading two different organizations through a variety of highs and lows and learning every single day in those roles. That is a key part of my story and a key part of what makes me who I am, and a key knowledge library that I like to draw upon to support my coaching philosophies. So let's get into the philosophy a little bit. I think a lot of things we talk about and explore in modern day language is overly complicated. I have a very simple philosophy. I think everything that we build out in our programs needs to have some sort of structure, some sort of resonance, some sort of reference point. So I start everything around the 3 M's. That is momentum, methodology, and mindset. They're all interlinked. You could have the best mindset in the world, but if nobody's ever taught you methodology, specific tools and tactics, to quote an old mentor of mine, you don't know what you don't know. It was a favorite quote of hers in a no-nonsense style. And it's true. You can have a great mindset, but if you don't have the right tools, you're not going to build a momentum. Equally, you could be the most competent, highly skilled, trained individual in your organization. But if you've got a totally disempowered mindset, you are never going to build momentum. So we work very much about sharing those skills, those tools, those traits, underpinned with real world, practical, lived life experience, so that you have the methodology, and we then go to work on that mindset. We give you the ability to truly empower that mindset so that you can build an unstoppable momentum in both your professional role and indeed your personal life. And if I go a step further and say, well, are there core themes and areas? There absolutely are. One of our most popular recent episodes, I talk all about our Leadership Accelerator program, and that is our flagship program. And if you've not listened to that, I'll make sure the link is in the show notes. That highlights the core challenges we have seen leaders express that they are wrestling with over the last 6 years. And it's very much a program built for leaders by leaders. And so I won't repeat what we've talked about there, but if you're intrigued as to what are the core themes that we see people struggling with, and you'd like to sense check it against what you're currently struggling with, have a listen to that episode, because the Leadership Accelerator is very much built in the moment for the modern day challenges that leaders are facing. But sitting over the top of that, I think fundamentally there are four key areas that I always go back to. Number one is clarity. If you don't know where you are and you don't know where you're trying to get to, how on earth are you ever going to build a plan to get there? And we're all guilty of drowning in the never-ending email inbox, and to-do lists. We have to find the space, the time, and the right support to pause, lift our head, reflect, assess where we are, where we want to be, and how we're going to get there. So clarity is the foundation for everything. I touched on resilience a lot when I was talking about my story. We need it. It's integral. We're not going to avoid challenge. And the more senior a role you occupy, the more challenges you have to deal with. That is just the definition of leadership. The easy stuff gets done lower down the proverbial pyramid, lower down the hierarchy, and the hard stuff gets pushed up and gets left for the leaders. So adversity will always be there. I don't want you fearing adversity. I'd love to say we can avoid it. We can't, unless we have no responsibilities, personally and professionally. We can't avoid adversity. So rather than fear it and live in that energy sapping space of, I hope there's no problems today, I hope nothing goes wrong, I hope there's no challenges, we have to have a mindset of course we hope it doesn't come to our door, but if it does, we're ready, we're resilient, we have the tools, we have the mindset. We will not only face it and front it, we will step through it effectively, come out the other side, overcome whatever challenge is put in our way, and we will take everybody with us, whether that's in our roles as a parent or a partner, in our family dynamics, or whether that's in our professional role. We will take people with us and we will inspire them and we will embolden them and help them develop their own resilience, because all leaders have a legacy. We want to strengthen everybody around us. We want to bring out the leaders. We want to create the next generation of leaders, but we want to leave everybody in a better place. And one of the ways we can do that is to support and show people how to become more resilient. How many of you are currently dealing with high level of change, uncertainty? It's everywhere in industry at the minute. Economically, professionally, the advent and explosion of AI and different technologies, there is change and challenge everywhere. Resilience is essential. It has been since the start of time. It always will be. You need to enhance it to move through all these challenges. And then we talk about performance. We all wear a multitude of hats. We have our professional hat. Naturally, that's a key area of focus. But for most of us, we wear a raft of personal hats as well. We may be a partner. We may be a parent. We will undoubtedly be a friend. We are a colleague. We may be a son or a daughter to parents that are still with us. We have roles to play in our community. All of these roles require a level of performance. And I know it might sound trite, but we deserve to find the best version of ourselves. And everybody around you benefits from that and deserves to see that as well. Do we want to get to the end of our days and say, well, I wasn't really a great parent, I wasn't particularly present, and yeah, I was all right at work, but I never really fulfilled my potential, and sort of drifted in my marriage for 30 odd years. I could have probably been better. No, of course we don't. I want you to find the best version of you in every area. So you look back without regrets, that you absolutely did everything in your power to reach your fullest potential professionally, that you were a fully present and engaged parent, that you were a loving and connected partner, that you contributed to your community, that you stayed connected to your friends. I know that might sound like a pipe dream, but it's not. Believe me, it's not. And performance bleeds into that fourth theme of fulfillment. We don't get another go at this. I used to have a fridge magnet. My children would laugh at me. Life is not a dress rehearsal. I love quotes. I use them as anchors all the time. But that is so true. I think it came from the world champion motorcyclist Barry Sheene. Life is not a dress rehearsal. What are we waiting for? I saw an article from somebody who's in his 90s recently, and he was talking about how much he'd like to go back to the good old days. And the perversity, when you're in the good old days, you're worried about everything, you're stressed about everything, and you're looking forward to those days when everything's better and when you're retired and there's less pressures, whatever it may be. And he's like, no, those days that you thought were the most stressful, they are the good old days. Invariably, you're in them now, you're living them now. How do we maximize them? For me, work-life balance is a complete delusion. There is never balance. we shouldn't be just work, 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 and we'll live our lives when we retire. We need to find a way, and it's another core focus of what we talk about, to find work-life integration, to blend all those core elements of our personal and professional life together. And this is another key part of my philosophy. And forgive me for laboring this point, but walk through this analogy with me. You are in a scenario where your physical health is not where you want to be. Your energy is low. You're not happy with how you look, and you're not happy with the energy you have, the way you sleep, the way you recover. Your mental health's not in a good place. You have a high level of stress. You know you're not processing it well. You're constantly anxious about the worst case scenarios and what could go wrong. Your intimate relationship, whether you're married or dating, whatever it may be, is not where you want it to be, and it's becoming a source of stress. If you've got children, you're not as present as you'd like to be. You have no time for your hobbies and your own passions. You're drifting away from your friendship group. You don't see your extended family. I know that's a pretty damning and negative overview, but that is where a lot of people are drifting towards. And then, against that backdrop, I want you to step over the threshold of work and be the best version of you, the most impactful leader, the most optimal performing member of the team. It's a practical impossibility. So why do I frame that? Well, I want you to go to the polar opposite, because I believe that we have to take a holistic overview if we want to be a genuine high performer. You can't just park all those core areas of life to one side and say, I'm just going to focus on my job and I will be great, because you won't. It's like trying to run with a flat battery or a slow puncher. It's debilitating. And if we reverse that analogy, and you are somebody who has got a plan in place, the relevant tools, the relevant support and accountability, and your physical health is in a great place, your energy is high, your mental health is good, you know how to process stress, because stress won't go away. We're always going to have stress, but you process it well. You feel fully connected to your partner. You're present with your children. You're engaged with your friendship group. You've carved out time for your hobbies. You've got good relationships within your extended family. And now you step over the threshold of work. Well, I guarantee it is a completely different you. We are moving towards that best version of you. Your energy, your mindset, your resilience goes through the roof. Your performance levels are totally different, and the impact you have on the business and on the people you lead is totally, totally different. And that is why fulfillment is the fourth area of that philosophy. We want the clarity. Where are you? Where are you going? How are you going to get there? We want to drive performance, taking this holistic view, both professional and personal. We want to enhance your resilience, so you can punch through and out the other side of every challenge. And when we get all of that right, we want you expressing the recognition that you are finding new levels of fulfillment that you haven't previously found. So that just gives you a snapshot, if you will, of my philosophy. Everything that we do is designed to address those core areas. So how do I bring that to life practically? Well, I always say I wear four hats: the coach, the trainer, the mentor, and the consultant. So the coaching hat is very much about drawing things from within you, bringing the answers to the fore. The training hat is much more me pushing information your way, specific tools and tactics. The mentor hat is about sharing lived life experience and really opening up some of my knowledge library of things that I think can support you on your leadership journey. And this consultant area is the fourth area, and it's a really important area for me. I like to talk about situational awareness. So with a lot of clients, we are coaching, we are mentoring, we are training. Those hats are interchangeable. And once that trust and rapport has been built, we then dive into the specific challenges, the specific stones in your shoe. What is top of the list in terms of stress and anxiety? And that's where I really feel like I have a chance to come to the fore, because I can dissect those specific challenges. I'm removed from the politics of the organization. I am talking in a completely confidential, safe space. You've got absolute psychological safety. I do not report back into your senior leadership. I'm working with you as an individual. So we can really unpack in that space those challenges and apply the principles we'll have touched on through the previous training and coaching to come up with the solutions that help you move forward. And that's where some of my longest running partnerships exist over the last 6 years with leaders, because you get that rapport, you build that trust and connection, and you can dissect these specific issues. And I think it's important to stress, yes, I'm bringing my own situational awareness based on my journey as a CEO, my journeys in professional sport, both on and off the field. All those insights come to the fore. But the real blessing of this job now, over the last 6 years, I've worked with hundreds of leaders, different sectors, different cultures, different countries, but all of that knowledge is downloaded. So I am able, without ever breaching confidentiality, to talk about best practice that I've seen and offer that as a consideration for the specific issue you are dealing with. I'm also able to give you forewarning to say, the path you're moving along, I have seen others try this very strategy and it didn't work. It backfired, and this is what I saw. And that gives you the ability to almost have a roadmap to say, I probably won't go down this dead end. I won't go down this proverbial rabbit warren. I see what you're saying. I can see how that outcome might manifest with me, so I'll change tack slightly. And that's very much about my knowledge library, about being able to download my own experiences and those of the people I work with to give you the best possible support, mentorship, consultancy, call it what you will, whichever hat you're wearing, but ultimately that drives your performance, your growth, and ultimately your fulfillment. And to wrap things up, that is my purpose. When I was in the chief executive roles, I always recognized I had a real passion for supporting the growth and development of my people. Something that I'm immensely proud of is the fact that 5 members of my management team across those 2 organizations have gone on to be chief executives in their own right. I don't for a second say that that's because of me. I just would like to think I played a small part in raising their aspirations or developing them and allowing them to tap into their true potential. And so when it comes to my personal fulfillment, there is nothing that compares to listening to clients say that I've made an impact, that I've helped them, that I've unpacked a problem, that I've reduced their stress level, that they feel better in all those core areas of their life. That for me is fulfillment. My young daughter said it best when she was talking about what her dad does at school. Well, Daddy helps people. That is the principle. That is the purpose. I am here to try and help you. I bring an authenticity. I don't preach from an ivory tower. We build the rapport. I share those good, bad, and horrendous experiences and the learnings I have from that to hopefully give you a set of tools and insights and wisdom, not just from my own experiences, as I said earlier, from the people that I'm fortunate to be able to coach and work with now, so that you can apply them, find new levels of performance, protect your physical and mental health, reduce any likelihood of burnout because your resilience is high, your mindset is empowered, and find those unprecedented levels of fulfillment. So I hope this has been a useful insight into a little bit of my story, the philosophy that I try and bring to supporting your growth and development, and a genuine and authentic insight into my purpose. I am here to serve. I am here to help people. It's where I get my pleasure. It's where I get my fulfillment. And that process never stops. As you can see behind me, I'm a passionate reader. I'm constantly trying to learn and to develop my own skills and insights so that I can better serve you. So if this has piqued your interest and you think, I'd like to explore how I might be able to work with James, or I'd like to explore what James might be able to do with the wider team. As I said earlier, there was an episode in the show notes specifically about our Leadership Accelerator program. That's our flagship program for working with senior leaders. We've also got the Creating Unshakable Resilience program, more of a generic tool because it's applicable to every role, every level of seniority. I don't care what industry you're in. we all need to enhance our resilience to be better placed to move through the challenges of life, both personally and professionally. And then, of course, there's the bespoke one-to-one executive coaching opportunities as well. So if it's of interest, reach out, DM me through LinkedIn, reach out through the email addresses that are here. I will be more than happy to set up an insight call to explore your needs, to explore what's going on in your organization, and to align with that and support it in some capacity. I'm not here to reinvent the wheel. I'm not here to replace what any L&D or OD teams are doing. I'm here to complement it. I'm here to give a slightly different perspective, and I'm more than willing to explore your bespoke individual needs through the form of an insight call over Zoom or Teams. I wish you the very best of luck on your continued journey of growth and development. Thanks for listening to the Lonely Leader podcast. I'd be very grateful if you could share and follow if the content resonates. And if you're looking for additional free resource to support your continued growth and development, then please do check out our social media and website details in the show notes. Remember, quality leadership on the outside must always start within.